Well, hello there, all you prudent speculators and ruthless profiteers, traders, whatever we'd like to call ourselves. Hey, it's Rod, lead derivatives and futures traders for VPT Live and VPT Live Trade Room. My first video of 2016, and what a year it has been, right? As traders, we love volatility, big moves up and down. I'm not sure that we're all thrilled with the pace and speed of these moves. It's been a difficult year so far for me to adjust to, but I had a few tips and tricks I wanted to talk about tonight, or some observations that I've made. Trading, especially intraday trading for income, you have to be really kind of dynamic and nimble. You got to know your system works, and you back tested it, but market conditions can change pretty quickly. So we'll talk about that briefly. Also, it's just been I haven't blown an account up in 3 years, and actually blew an options account up in the first 6 days of this year. So I'll take a look at that. For me, a blow up. So I funded it with 30 grand. And today I sort of cut everything at 12,000. So it's not really a blow up, but that's a 55% decline in 7 trading sessions. So what was the carnage? It was, of course, long biased. When you come into a year and this happens, everything kind of goes down. We had XLE, we had Bank of America, we had Apple, we had Macy's. Macy's actually worked out okay. I think, did I mention Twitter? Did I mention XLE? Those were some of the ones that are in there. So I don't know if I'll take a look at that tonight, but something to make note of, that sometimes those things happen. So on a percentage basis, pretty brutal. We made up for it somewhat in our futures account, so it's been a rough start to the year. Been a little disappointed in myself as a trader. You like to be able to sort of hedge or take advantage of this kind of volatility, and when you're on the wrong side of the market and it moves that quickly against you, it's certainly disappointing. So we're going to refund that account back up to 30, maybe 35,000, and then sort of restart it. Replay. All right, then also I want to talk about a little bit about some bottom fishing ideas. And these are more investments, longer term time frames. Let me mention some of the names. I've mentioned them in the room, so anyone who's been following along with VPT has heard me mention some of these things. So one is 3D printing, and specifically DDD. Now, I was very fortunate on that. I kind of caught a move from 9 to 12, made a good deal of money on the May 10 calls, and then sold them all. And normally I would have held some of those since there was so much time premium left in them. So 3D has completely reversed and actually hit the low 7s today. So again, through options out in May, maybe even a little further out, I like taking some shots at the 10s. So triple D, one of those, and this is just purely bottom fishing. Technically, the chart looks terrible. I have no idea what's happening with the company fundamentally, other than I did expect at some point some of these 3D printing companies to either consolidate or get bought out by some of the bigger players. That hasn't happened. Speaking of acquisitions that haven't happened, another theme for 2015 that did okay in the beginning of the year and got really tapered off near the end was cybersecurity. So the cybersecurity starts, the Palo Alto Networks, Fortinet, Checkpoint, Cyber, those kinds of things, FireEye, right? So I had predicted that by the end of 2016, they would none of those would still be independent, publicly traded companies. We haven't seen a single takeover yet. However, just yesterday, first rumors that Fortinet, or I think maybe Checkpoint, was snooping around Cyber, and Cyber was up like maybe 20%. Ticker on that is CYBR. So I still have some exposure to those, mostly through options for essentially takeovers. And they've been so beaten up. Oh gosh, I just got a huge trade alert in my ear. Sorry. I have to wear these now because the guys from Onovia completely screwed up my sound system. So I'm recording on this mic. Normally I could have had my speakers on. Now don't get me started. By the way, VPTers, I apologize for the technical difficulties we've had so far. We're off to a little bit of a rough start, even technically in terms of technical stuff with the computer. But we'll get that worked out. And then the other final idea I had tweeted out the other day, if you're chicken, maybe hide out in some. I thought that was clever. And I was talking about El Pollo Loco, not Chipotle. I don't know if Chipotle is really always associated with chicken. You get a beef burrito there as well. I love El Pollo Loco. I grew up in Southern California. You eat El Pollo Loco and In-N-Out Burger. The stock's been absolutely decimated. Found a nice base at about 9.10. And then just as I started to build the position yesterday, even got some of our retirement accounts and convinced my wife to buy a few hundred shares as well. It went from about 12.5 right up to 13.5 today, up about 7.5% on an upgrade. So that was nice. I'm looking for a target of about 15 to take most of that off, and then I'll trail my stops accordingly. But even with the move today, Loco chart looks really nice, sort of a basing pattern, and I don't think it's something that you're going to get too beat up in. El Pollo Loco. By the way, how do you check it? I just got this mount. Took me a little while to put this together. All right, that's enough blabbing here. We'll go to the charts for just a little bit, but that's basically the themes that I'm going to cover tonight, in addition to taking a look at some of the changes I've made, as I mentioned at the outset of the video, in terms of adjusting to what's going on in the market, specifically in the futures. In fact, I'll give you a quick hint right now, and those are, is reducing size. That's kind of a given, right? Reducing size in times of volatility, but also tightening stops and widening targets. Now, that might sound sort of counterintuitive. You leave your ATMs where they are. But what I find out works out very well, and this is for the Brickwick trading system, which is a momentum-based trading system, is the moment I kind of get any sort of profit, I just tighten that stop to avoid this choppy whippiness. And then when it runs, if it really runs, I just widen that stop. There were some folks in the room today that got great extended targets, while when we shut the room down, I was essentially mostly flat. But I didn't have to take that much exposure. So a lot of up and down, Didn't catch any of those runners, but didn't give myself too much time in the markets. That's one of the things I personally like to do. When markets are really volatile, I reduce the size, I tighten my stops as quickly as I can, and then if I get a nice key price point, which there's a movement in my favor, then I'm going to not trail the stop too tightly, but try to get that big move. And that's actually worked out really well last Friday. Caught a very big runner in crude oil and a very big runner in the Dow Jones on the way down. That made up for the fact that we also started buying bid zone 3 yesterday, and no bid zones, even bid zone 3, held into yesterday's sell-off. All right, one last thing. If you've made it this far, I really appreciate it. I'm going to send this video to a larger audience tonight, and because of that, at the end of the video, I'll put a link to the VPT Live Trade Room tomorrow, which, cross our fingers, is actually going to work properly, and you'll be able to hear me from the outset. And if you are interested, the password is playoffs. Playoffs? Isn't that Jim Mora? Playoffs, all one word, lowercase. And you can come in and just check it out for Friday for free. Join us in the community, hang out, watch me trade, see if you dig it in any kind of way, shape, or form. Okay, now let's go to the charts. This is Rod with VPT Live. Remind you, always trade like a minute. Let's go on inside and see what happened today. Thanks.